The birth of Jesus is often portrayed as a peaceful, cozy scene, soft lights, gentle animals, and a sense of warmth that fills the air. We see nativity sets on mantles and lawns, surrounded by twinkling lights and the comfort of home, as if the story itself is wrapped in a blanket of nostalgia. But the reality behind that familiar image is far more unsettling, even jarring. The first Christmas was not a tranquil holiday postcard, but a night marked by anxiety, uncertainty, and fear. We've sanitized the story, forgetting it's about a homeless couple, forced by a government decree to travel under the shadow of an empire. Mary and Joseph were not just travelers, they were displaced people, compelled to leave their home and community behind, uncertain of what awaited them. The census wasn't just a headcount, it was a tool of control, a way for Rome to dominate its subjects. It was a reminder that their lives were not their own, that their movements and choices were dictated by distant rulers. Joseph and Mary were compelled to move, not by choice, but by imperial command. Their journey was not a holiday trip, but a forced migration, filled with exhaustion and worry. When they arrived in Bethlehem, they found no welcome, just a society overwhelmed by state-mandated disruption. Every door was closed, every space already claimed by others caught in the same upheaval. They were outsiders, vulnerable and displaced. Their vulnerability was not just physical, but social. Strangers in a city that had no room for them. The Nativity is a political drama, not a fairy tale. It's a story of resistance and hope in the face of oppression, a challenge to the powers that be. We focus on the star and wise men, but ignore the looming threat of Rome. The empire's shadow fell over every moment, a constant reminder of danger and control. Jesus' birth was an act of subversion, not in a palace but in a stable, among the powerless. The Savior of the world arrived not with fanfare, but in obscurity, in the margins of society. King Herod, threatened by rumors of a new king, responded with fear and brutality. His paranoia led to violence, targeting the innocent in a desperate attempt to maintain power. Imagine this story today. Would we recognize Jesus, or would we be the ones shutting the door? Would we see the Holy Family as worthy of compassion, or as just another problem to ignore? The themes of state overreach, homelessness, and fear of dissent are as relevant now as ever. The Christmas story echoes in the struggles of refugees, the marginalized, and those who dare to speak truth to power. The Christmas story is a mirror, reflecting our own world's injustices. It asks us to look honestly at the systems and attitudes that shape our society. It challenges us to see the uncomfortable truth behind the glittering images. The real story is not about comfort, but about courage and compassion in the face of adversity. What does it mean to welcome a savior born as a political refugee? It means opening our hearts and our doors to those who are most vulnerable, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Are we willing to confront the real message of Christmas? Are we ready to let it transform, not just our celebrations, but our actions in our communities? Or do we prefer the sanitized version that asks nothing of us? The version that lets us celebrate without ever being challenged to change? The choice to see the truth is ours. This season, will we look beyond the manger scene and embrace the radical, world-changing message at the heart of Christmas? The Roman Empire was a superpower built on surveillance, military might, and crushing dissent. Its reach extended into every corner of daily life, from the bustling streets of Rome to the farthest provinces. The empire's leaders understood that to maintain control, they needed to know everything about their subjects, where they lived, what they owned, and even what they believed. The census that uprooted Mary and Joseph was a tool of control. It wasn't just about counting people. It was about asserting dominance, collecting taxes, and reminding everyone who was in charge. For ordinary families, it meant disruption, fear, and a constant reminder that their lives were not truly their own. Fast forward to today. America's surveillance state rivals anything Rome could imagine. We're tracked by cameras, monitored by agencies, and our digital footprints are collected and analyzed. Every online search, every phone call, every movement in public is potentially recorded, creating a vast web of information that authorities can access at will, and policed by militarized forces, SWAT raids, endless legal battles, and a justice system that can feel overwhelming and impersonal. The threat of force is always present, whether in the form of armored vehicles or the intimidating presence of law enforcement. And media demonization replace crucifixions, but the message is the same. obey, don't question. Public shaming, sensational headlines, and the constant portrayal of dissenters as threats to order serve to silence opposition and discourage resistance. The architecture of control has evolved, not disappeared. Prisons, security checkpoints, and surveillance infrastructure are the new walls and watchtowers, shaping our behavior and limiting our freedoms in subtle but powerful ways. Citizens are taught to trade freedom for security, just as Rome demanded loyalty to Caesar. From a young age, we're encouraged to trust authority, to pledge allegiance, and to accept that safety comes at the cost of personal liberty. The tools have changed, but the goal, total control, remains. Whether through ancient armies or modern technology, the desire to dominate and direct society persists across the centuries. A modern Jesus would be born into a world of digital checkpoints and suspicion. Every journey would be scrutinized, every identity verified, and every act of defiance met with suspicion or force. The empire he confronted then is mirrored in the systems we live under now. The architecture may look different, but the underlying power structures remain eerily familiar. We're told it's for our safety, but it's really about power. The language of protection is used to justify ever-expanding authority, while the true cost is our autonomy. The Christmas story asks, will we challenge the empire, or accept its rule? It's a question that echoes through history, urging us to consider our own complicity and courage. The parallels are chilling, and demand our attention. We must recognize the patterns of control, and decide whether to resist or remain silent. This is the world Jesus would confront today, a world where the struggle for freedom and justice is as urgent as ever. Imagine Jesus born in America today. Mary and Joseph might be immigrants, refugees, or simply poor, seen as outsiders by the system. Hospitals would demand paperwork, insurance, proof of residency. Without it, they'd be turned away. No room at the inn becomes a bureaucratic denial, not just a closed door. Even a home birth could trigger suspicion, with social services ready to intervene. Poverty or lack of documentation would justify intense government oversight. From birth, this child would be a data point, tracked and managed by the state. The story isn't about celebration, but about control and exclusion. The Nativity, in modern terms, is a story of being shut out by the very systems meant to help. Would we recognize the Holy Family, or see them as a problem to be managed? In the original story, the Holy Family flees state violence, becoming refugees. They leave behind everything familiar, driven by fear and hope, seeking safety in a foreign land. Their journey is desperate, uncertain, and filled with danger at every turn. Today, the tools of control are more advanced. Amber alerts, surveillance, and national databases track every movement. Technology that promises safety can also become a net, ensnaring those who are simply trying to survive. Privacy is a luxury, and suspicion falls quickly on those who don't fit in. In this world, Mary and Joseph would be labeled kidnappers, not protectors. Their intentions would be questioned, their love for their child overshadowed by bureaucracy and suspicion. The border is now a militarized zone, guarded by drones and armed agents. Walls and fences rise higher, and crossing them is an act of desperation, not defiance. If caught, they'd be arrested, their child separated and detained. The trauma of separation would haunt them, leaving scars that last a lifetime. This isn't exaggeration, it's reality for many families seeking asylum. Every day, parents and children face these impossible choices, risking everything for a chance at safety. The act of fleeing for safety would be criminalized, not understood. Compassion is replaced by suspicion, and survival becomes a crime. The family would be processed, charged, and possibly deported. Their story would be reduced to a case number, their humanity lost in paperwork. Their child would become a ward of the state, lost in bureaucracy. The system is cold, indifferent to the pain of those it claims to protect. The modern police state twists acts of love into crimes. Even those who offer help risk punishment, as compassion itself is put on trial. The story of the flight into Egypt is not ancient history. It's happening now. The faces change, but the struggle remains heartbreakingly familiar. Would we offer sanctuary, or enforce the rules? Each of us faces this question, whether in our communities or in our hearts. The answer reveals who we truly are. Our response defines our values and shapes the world we leave for future generations. The Christmas story asks us to choose compassion over compliance. In a world of walls and suspicion, will we open our hearts to those in need? If the family survived, Jesus' childhood would be spent under constant surveillance. Schools would track his every move, punishing minor infractions and labeling him a troublemaker. His social media, friendships, and even questions would be monitored for signs of dissent. The system would pressure him to conform, stifling individuality and rebellion. Every institution would demand obedience, not critical thought. The surveillance state controls not with violence, but with relentless oversight. A childhood in modern America is a lesson in compliance. Would the divine spark survive such scrutiny? As an adult, Jesus' message would be seen as subversive. He'd preach in parks and protests, not churches aligned with power. Feeding the hungry could get him arrested for violating city ordinances. His gatherings would be infiltrated, his words flagged as threats. Acts of compassion would be criminalized, civil disobedience met with force. Protests at centers of power would be crushed by riot police. The media would paint him as a dangerous radical. Like King and Gandhi, he'd be relentlessly monitored and harassed. The state would twist his message into a threat to national security. The miracle would be overshadowed by bureaucracy. Compassion would be treated as a crime. The empire always fears the truth teller. Jesus' arrest and execution were political acts meant to silence dissent. Today, he'd face a SWAT raid, secret evidence, and indefinite detention. His trial would be a formality, the outcome predetermined. The state would use his words against him, painting him as a terrorist. Followers would be threatened into silence or betrayal. The system protects itself, not justice. Execution would be clinical, lethal injection or life in solitary, not a cross. The goal, make an example, silence the threat. The state would declare victory, law and order restored. The voice of truth once again silenced by power. The story of a modern Jesus is uncomfortable because it exposes our complicity. It's easier to keep Jesus as a safe symbol than to see him in the faces of the oppressed. Too many churches avoid the hard questions, choosing comfort over challenge. The gospel was meant to be a revolution, not a retreat. To follow Jesus is to stand with the marginalized and challenge injustice. The real question, are we building walls or breaking them down? The story isn't over, it's a call to action. Will we be subjects of the empire or citizens of the kingdom?